All right, today we're going to dig into a principle that can quietly, almost silently, corrode a team's culture. It's this idea that sometimes the most expensive thing you can ever accept is a free lunch. This comes straight from the 48 Laws of Power, and honestly, understanding this is absolutely key to building a high-performing team. So, let's get right into it. Welcome to the Systems Thinker Show. This is Season 6, Episode 47. And I just want to say, we're so incredibly grateful to have our listeners tuning in from over 40 countries now. Whether this is your first time here or you're a regular, your support honestly means the world to us. Speaking of that support, we were looking at the numbers, and it turns out less than a quarter of you who listen regularly are actually subscribed. So if you're getting value from these explainers, could you do us a huge favor? Hit that subscribe or follow button. It really helps us with the streaming algorithm so we can keep bringing you these best-in-class insights on business culture. And real quick before we jump in, just a heads up that this Explainers is a perfect companion to our business playbooks, Shift Happens, and the brand new Culture by Design. You can find both on Amazon and other online bookstores all over the world. Okay, let's get to the heart of this thing. So this really brings us to the big question, right? We're all taught to look for a good deal, to find value. So what could possibly be wrong with getting something valuable for free? Well, as we're about to see, the answer might just be everything. All right. Let's ground this whole idea in a real-world example. We're going to take a look at a manufacturing company that fell into a really common, and let's face it, a very seductive trap. So, picture this, a manufacturing company, and they are growing like crazy. To keep up with that growth, they start accepting all these offers. Free software from vendors, some complimentary consulting, no-cost analytics tools. On the surface, it looked like a brilliant move, a super cost-effective way to fuel their success. But then something started to happen under the surface. It was subtle at first. That really strong culture they had, built on ownership and accountability, it started to erode. And in its place, this sort of creeping dependence and hesitation started to set in. Those free gifts were costing them something that wasn't on any balance sheet, their cultural DNA. Okay, so now let's pull back the curtain and really uncover the true price of free. Because the initial costs weren't financial at all. They were cultural. And as it turns out, they were absolutely devastating. So how did this damage actually show up? Well, for starters, the supervisors, the leaders right there on the floor, they began punting key operational decisions to their outside vendors. Their own disciplined internal performance reviews, they got tossed aside for the vendors' flashy dashboards. And with every single decision they outsourced, their own accountability and their leaders' credibility just chipped away. They had traded their autonomy for convenience. And I want to be super clear here. This isn't some isolated problem at one company. No way. This is a massive, industry-wide trend, and the hidden costs are absolutely staggering when you start connecting the dots. I mean, just look at engineering. Studies are showing that up to 40% of a team's capacity is getting eaten up by the technical debt created by integrating and maintaining these so-called free platforms. That's nearly half their time spent just fixing problems they were given for free instead of building new value. And then, of course, there's the economic trap. These freemium enterprise tools, they're specifically designed to jack up the long-term cost of switching to a different provider by 20 to 30%. They make it incredibly easy to get in, but painfully expensive to ever get out. And the performance numbers, they tell the same story, loud and clear. In manufacturing plants that rely on these free analytics from their equipment suppliers, we see a sustained drop of 10 to 15% in their overall equipment effectiveness. The free tools are directly making them worse. So the big question is, how do you fight back against this? How do you actually reclaim control? Well, the answer lies in Robert Greene's 40th Law of Power, Despise the free lunch. It is all about owning your power. In the law itself, it's just crystal clear. Nothing of value comes without a price. Now, this isn't about being pessimistic. It's a strategic mindset. When you understand that everything has a cost, you stop looking for shortcuts and you start looking for the best way to maintain your independence. The best deals are the ones where you pay your own way. Period. So if we go back to our case study company, this idea, this principle, it sparked a total cultural reset. The leadership team made a conscious, deliberate decision. From now on, they would pay for value, not accept favors. And that was the first absolutely crucial step toward getting back their control and their cultural identity. Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? Let's break down how you get from this theory to real, concrete action and show exactly how a company can get its independence back. And when you put the two paths side by side, the difference is it's night and day. The free path is influence-driven. That means your control is external, your culture becomes reactive, and any power you think you have is just borrowed. But the paid path, that's infrastructure-driven. Control is internal, your culture is disciplined, and the power is truly 100% your own. And look, this isn't some fringe idea we're talking about. The top thinkers in change management, they're all saying the same thing, just in their own way. Petersenge would tell you these free tools totally undermine systems thinking. John Cotter would say you need to build a sense of urgency around these hidden costs. And Lanier Johnson, he puts it plainly. Pay for your systems, enforce your operating procedures, and own your KPIs. So our company, in the case study, they took 4 really concrete steps. First, they moved every single vendor to a paid contract with a crystal clear scope of work. No more favors. Second, they took back complete ownership and control of all their operational data. Third, they threw out the vendor dashboards and reestablished their own metrics for success. And fourth, they re-empowered their supervisors to actually lead and make the final call. And the results? I mean, the outcomes really speak for themselves, don't they? Sure, the free path might give you a little short-term bump in efficiency, but it leads to low engagement and it absolutely erodes trust. The paid path, on the other hand, it delivers sustained efficiency, high engagement, and it strengthens trust across the whole organization. The long-term winner is obvious. All right, so as we start to bring this all together, let's just take a moment to reflect on the core message here. It's a really powerful way to reframe what looks like a simple business decision. Because at the end of the day, despising the free lunch, it's not about being cynical. It is an act of cultural self-respect. It's a declaration that your independence, your autonomy, and your culture are simply too valuable to trade away for some convenient shortcut. For more insights and information, please feel free to visit us at karaswisher.com. You can also check out our other show, The Continuous Improvement Lab. A huge thanks to our executive producer and founder, Lanier Johnson. And finally, if this explainer was valuable to you, please share it with 10 friends or business associates who might benefit too. Thanks for joining us.